This conference will now be recorded.
I'm calling to order the November 27th meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. This meeting is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 408-650-3123 with access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. This meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone else recording? Seeing none, we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our first agenda item is an executive session to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining for police and teacher and the purchase of property. In order to go into executive session, we would need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session in accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Section 3, strategy with respect to collective bargaining, police and teachers, and 6, the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
This is a roll call vote. Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The chair is a yes as well. We are moving into executive session. Open meeting may have detrimental effects on the negotiating position of the public body relative to collective bargaining for police and teacher and the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and that the board will reconvene in open session following executive session. session. This is just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone else in the audience recording? Seeing none, we can move forward with public comment. We have 2 individuals for public comment. I will call Mrs. Fleming. Could you just come to the podium and state your name and your address? And we allow 3 minutes for public comment.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Fleming. I am 67 years old and live at 7 Mount View Ave. I was born in Auburn and have lived here for many years. I left pursuing my education and career in nursing as a registered nurse, eventually becoming a professor in the healthcare division at Quinsigamond Community College. I moved back to Auburn 6.5 years ago to care for my elderly mother until her passing. Presently, in my retirement years, I am having a problem with the man who lives at 8 Mount View Ave. He is operating a business out of the residential home's driveway, repairing lawnmowers, lawn tractors, leaf blowers, and snow blowers outside. The noise level is unbearable. You can't imagine. There is constant flow of traffic from his customers, as well as his ongoing pickup and delivery option of large equipment. He operates 7 days a week, including holidays, well into this evening. He has no permit from the town to do so and is violation of town zoning bylaws. All of this is extensively documented by me. Also concerning is where is the disposal of hazardous waste, including used oil, used gasoline, takes place. I have contacted the town manager and met with Chair Sarah Ruffey last July, and I sent a letter, which I have a copy of, to the town manager here, which I would all like you to get a copy of. I have it here. And that was in April. I got no response from anyone. And no solution to this issue for over a year. I requested to be placed on tonight's agenda to present my case, but this has not happened. This is why I'm here tonight to ask the Select Board to help me with my problem. It is unbearable and severely impacts my quality of life in my older years. Thank you for your attention. Please find in your heart to help me. Happy holidays. I also like to have you all have a copy of the letter that I sent last April. It's very important to me. If anybody, I live very close to here. If anybody had ever driven down the street and come on, you would see it operating all day long. I have pictures from my phone of Thanksgiving morning, of tractor repair on Thanksgiving morning.
Thank you.
It occurs every day of the week. Never ends. You've seen this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you want to see this as well?
If I may, I know I've had a conversation with the chair regarding this issue. Upon receiving this letter, I sent it to our DDIS department to have our inspectors do a review based upon the complaint that was filed. I received feedback that indicated that they visited the property on several occasions and found no evidence of it being run as a business. Now, I know Ms. Fleming came in last week and left a poster board with pictures on it
I asked you to bring it
shows
tonight.
evidence that she believes a business is being run. That was once again forwarded to DDIS, and they are currently reviewing the matter. Ms. Fleming asked to be on the agenda. We contacted her last week, telling her that she could come in under citizens' comments. We're not going to treat this as a regular agenda item, because that's not how we address these items. We did not hear from Ms. Fleming as a result of that call. So I didn't know she was coming in this evening until...
Never received a call. And one thing I don't do is ever lie. I never got a call from anyone. Matter of fact, I called here a number of times asking why I was not on the agenda. I spoke to the secretaries 3 times every day. I called Friday, I called Monday, and I called Wednesday. and asked why I wasn't being put on the agenda. I never got a call that said I could do this.
So I can tell you that an individual sitting at this table made that call to you, and there was no response.
They didn't call the right number, because I would definitely have been on.
But anyway, it is under review. We may have to have a discussion with town council as it relates to the activity on this, given the evidence that has been provided by Ms. Fleming. But that's something that we will be addressing over the course of the next week.
I've also
I think
asked-
Caleb is our enforcement officer for the week. So I wanted to get him involved in the conversation with town council to see what avenues we have in addressing this matter.
I've also asked the Auburn Water Department, who services their vehicles there, for a list of their invoices and payments to him.
So I don't know if this is a pay-for-business for repairs, or whether if this individual is doing it out of the kindness of his heart. We don't know. But I can tell you that our inspectors visited on a number of occasions and found no evidence at the time when they went there that there was any business activity.
I do wonder if that person has their vehicles or their equipment serviced there. It's so obvious. I mean, all you have to do is drive by. You don't have to even go in the driveway. It's very obvious. There's not a person that doesn't come to my house and say to me what is going on all the time. I can't imagine that person would not be in cahoots with him, that they would go in the driveway and not see it. The equipment is all over the driveway. He has sharpening devices, he has air pumps in the driveway, he has oil things in the driveway. He has a garage, but he has chickens in there, and he doesn't use the garage. He does everything, as my pictures said to you, and I gave you as many pictures as I could to put on that poster. Every piece of equipment on that poster was some different piece of equipment. Some were green, some were red, some were large, some were small. It never stops. I mean, I'm telling you, Thanksgiving morning, I have pictures of him repairing snow blowers. Like, how does a person not see this? You'd have to be blind.
Are there any questions?
No, Madam Chair, as a matter of course, the board doesn't typically engage in back and forth on these issues. The manager is, by the sounds of it, looking into it, so.
Not one of you, you all live in Auburn, not one of you would have tolerated this as long as I have. Not one of you. I live alone. He has a violent history. It was very
Nobody's
hard for me.
asking you to put up with anything.
Very hard for me to do this.
I'm simply saying to you that the manager is looking into it. You've made the board aware. We're now aware. And I would suggest to any member of the public, if you're going to communicate with the board, you should send it to all of us so that we would all be aware. And we would ask questions of the manager, as I'm sure the chair did as well. So it's being addressed, and I'm sure the manager will follow up with you, okay?
But I didn't think my letter in April would not get, I had no response to it. I asked specifically for a response. I had also contacted the prior town manager, and she did nothing either.
I
So it's
understand.
becoming a pattern. It looks like a pattern. As I suffer.
I understand.
I suffer at my house.
We're not saying,
You're welcome
We're
to
not
come over for
looking
dinner
at it.
any night you would like to.
what I'm saying to you is the manager is addressing it. The board does not have the authority other than to refer it to the manager. We don't control the staff outside of the manager, so.
Total violation of zoning code bylaws. It's not allowed.
I understand. And the manager is addressing it. Okay?
How much longer should I have to wait? Because it's been a long time now.
We will follow up with the manager, and I'm sure he will. He has told you at a public meeting that he will get in touch with you, so he's a man of his word. He will get in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a second public comment by Mr. Rafferty. Would you like to come up? And please state your name and your address.
On a lighter note, Alan Rafferty, I reside on Paul Street in Auburn. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. Is that how you like to be addressed?
Certainly.
I'm here by invitation because I understand a selectman wanted more people to make use of public comment. I also read that improving the qualities of public comment were on the agenda tonight. I am speaking now at the start of the meeting because there is no public comment section at the end of the agenda tonight, like there has been in the past. It seems that component has been dropped or maybe forgotten. This is unlike the Housing Authority Board agenda that incorporates public comment at the beginning and, more importantly, at the end after things have been discussed. In the past, the Housing Authority has been criticized by select board members when they considered dropping video recordings of their meetings, saying that this was contrary to having transparency. In the spirit of promoting public participation, I advocate having public comment at the beginning and at the end of your meetings. Further, that public comment be increased to 5 minutes rather than the paltry 3 minutes you now allow. 3 minutes is just not enough time to cover certain subjects. In the town of Oxford, Massachusetts, where the dominant party on the select board is Republican in nature, they have no public comment at their select board meetings, and no individual board member items are allowed on the agenda unless the chairman of the board allows it, which he never does. As a result, the Democrat members of their board are never allowed to discuss things important to them. Show us you are better. Promote openness, discussion, and therefore transparency. As an ancillary issue, consider hiring someone who can improve the audio broadcast of these meetings, because many times we just cannot hear what people are saying. Tonight, the agenda item about allowing the public to participate in discussions as they are brought up cannot but increase the probability of coming to solutions that benefit the electorate and therefore the town. Participating in a dialectic avoids monotony of thought, so I speak in favor of adopting it. Finally, what is good is public comment if it is heard, but simply ignored. Don't ignore people's problems. Listen to your citizens and be proactive. It is said that democracy dies in darkness. I also think it dies in deafness. So please, always listen to your citizens, and thank you for letting me speak tonight. Have a good holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We are certainly something we're looking into.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion that we move up agenda item 5C and agenda item 8A?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair is opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So 5C is a public hearing by National Grid for Albert Street. Am I on the wrong one? Oh,
5C is a proclamation.
On the agenda, I have it 5C is a public hearing petition by National Grid.
Mine says proclamation.
I think you meant to say
Seven.
section 3, or, did you,
5C.
yeah, you have the backs.
Oh, all right.
okay,
Well, then I will change it. I apologize.
certainly.
Well, I can't read. 7C and 8A.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So we will hear from the police, or the fire chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the board. I'm asking the board this evening to issue a proclamation to firefighter James Sweeney, who retired on Thanksgiving Day. He worked his last 24-hour shift, left the station on Friday morning. He dedicated 44 years of service to the town of Auburn, starting as an auxiliary civil defense firefighter as a teenager, ultimately moving to a call firefighter and then a career firefighter later in his career. We are hoping to get Mr. Sweeney here on December 11th at your board meeting to accept the proclamation, but that is my request this evening.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that the board issue a proclamation to honor the retirement of firefighter James Sweeney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. And moving on to 8A. It's the town manager item, the update on fire headquarters.
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, and most importantly, the general public who may be watching this meeting, we wanted to make a public announcement tonight as it relates to a piece of property that recently came up, was put up for sale at 10 Prospect Street, a restaurant known as Chuck's Steakhouse, for consideration for fire headquarters. That is the prime area we were looking at. The proposed location on West Street presented some logistical issues that I'm sure all the board members are aware of. And we made an offer. So we sought an appraisal. When we first found out that the property was going up for sale, we weren't in a position to make an offer for a number of reasons. One, we didn't have an appraisal, but we knew that we had discussions with the listing agent that we were interested in the property at a time they were seeking some bids. They received bids, none of which they accepted, and it then put us into position to consider acquisition of the property. We received an appraisal that came in at $3.9 million. We know that initially the sellers were seeking $5.9. They listed the property at a minimum bid of $4.9. And so we made an offer starting at $3.7 million. They came down from $4,250,000. We kind of met in the middle. So we made an offer of $4,050,000. The offer was accepted today. We have a letter of intent that we're going to sign, which will then begin a process where we have to take this town meeting. It's all contingent upon town meeting approval. We plan on coming in with a funding plan for that at your next meeting that would identify some funds that will allow us to purchase the property outright without seeking any bond proceeds to fund that acquisition cost. So I just wanted to put that out there tonight because that's going to trigger a series of events that will lead to a scheduling of a special town meeting. It will lead to an update that we plan on informing the general public, where they're allowed to participate in a discussion relative to us moving forward with the project prior to town meeting.
Do board members have any questions? Okay. Thank you so much for the update.
Thanks, Chief.
So we will be moving back to 5A, presentations and public hearing. We have a presentation, a request for a board vote to adopt a resolution in support of pending paint stewardship legislation. I believe there is a gentleman here to present. Either way, wherever you're most comfortable.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson and members of the Select Board. Thank you for this opportunity to share information with you about the environmentally important paint stewardship legislation presently before our legislature for the 7th time. My name is Tom Irwin. I lived at 54 Central Ave in Dalton, Massachusetts. I'm a retired chemical engineer and physician who, while a member of the Dalton Waste Management and Recycle Committee, learned of paint stewardship during a tour of a New York transfer station. The concept seemed perfect, and after visiting Vermont, Connecticut, and New York to confirm the program was well received by retailers and consumers, I became an advocate for this environmental legislation in Massachusetts and joined with 3 other independent individuals. So you might ask why paint stewardship is needed. The issue is that Massachusetts generates approximately 5.9 million tons of trash annually, but only has 3.2 million tons of annual trash incineration capacity. The remaining trash needs to be landfilled, but there are only 5 active municipal landfills in Massachusetts and no new landfills planned. Hence, the majority of the remaining trash needs to be hauled out of state to places as far away as Ohio, Western New York, or South Carolina. This is expensive and has an extremely large carbon footprint. A product stewardship approach applied to waste streams such as paint, mattresses, plastics, solar panels, and packaging, which are amenable to this approach, will help us begin to decrease this expensive burden. So then you might ask, so then what is paint stewardship? It is a program that allows residents to discard unwanted latex and oil-based paints without cost at participating paint retail stores or transfer stations any day the transfer station or store is open. The retailers collect the returned paint in totes, and when a tote is full, they call Paint Care. Paint Care is a national organization created by the paint manufacturers for the purpose of managing the disposal and reprocessing of the paint. Paint Care hauls this paint to a reprocessing plant. We currently have one in Hanover, Massachusetts called Recolor, where the paint is reprocessed, brought up to the quality of new, and then resold to entities like Restore and Habitat for Humanity. The consumer's part is paying an extra fee of up to $1 per gallon at time of purchase, or $1.75 for 5 gallons. The exception is Vermont, where more paint is returned than expected based on the amount purchased, which has caused the fee to be increased to $1.35 per gallon. This is a result of folks in neighboring states dropping their paint off within Vermont. What benefits will Auburn see from paint stewardship? First and foremost, it will be service that Auburn residents will value. The desire to recycle rather than discard unwanted paint has resulted in somewhere between 30 and 60% of the latex returned to the Enfield, Connecticut, Sherwin-Williams coming from Massachusetts residents. And a quick calculation based on $1.35 per gallon, which is what they're going to charge in Vermont when the reprocessing cost is only 75 cents, indicates that it's almost 2 for 1 in the state of Vermont. And that's likely residents of Massachusetts and New Hampshire returning that paint. Also notable is that 92% of the 735 Massachusetts residents dropping off items at 7 different household hazardous waste days that I've attended and that I spoke to signed the petition encouraging their legislator to become a bill co-sponsor. This suggests that 92% of residents with unwanted paint in their basements, and likely there are many, would support this bill. Second benefit is that the paint stewardship process begins addressing the solid waste issue by decreasing one category of waste going to our landfills. Third, it would also significantly decrease the toxic waste that occurs more often than we would like when oil-based paint is discarded inappropriately because it's such a hassle. Fourth, it will present no cost to municipalities and will decrease household hazardous waste day costs, as demonstrated in our neighboring states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and New York, who all have the law. Fifth, it will decrease greenhouse gases generated by the paint industry by approximately 4%. And finally, it will be a model for future product stewardship legislation that will address mattresses, solar panels, plastics, and packaging. So why hasn't paint stewardship passed previously? The problem stems from there being between 6,000 and 7,000 bills considered each legislative session. Clearly, this compels considering costs, which for paint stewardship is only $2 million annually, which is big for you and I, but small change for the state. And public demand, for which paint stewardship isn't sufficient as a result of too few people being aware of the law. While gathering over 3,000 petition signatures in support of the law, my experience has been that less than 2% of Massachusetts residents have ever heard of the law. In fact, there are at least 1/3 of residents of those states that do have the law that are unaware of the law. So what are our next steps? There are presently 27 representatives and 11 senators sponsoring or co-sponsoring the paint stewardship bills, which is good. However, to improve the chances this legislation passes this session, more are needed. Please consider requesting your state representative, Paul Frost, and your state senator, Michael Moore, to become co-sponsors and join this important cause that will certainly benefit Massachusetts and its residents. Additionally, when the bill arrives at the Ways and Means Committee early next year, as it has the 6 previous times, it will be important to have as many letters as possible from municipalities encouraging the committee chairs to view the paint stewardship legislation favorably and send it to the legislative floor for a vote. Please consider Auburn supporting this future need with a resolution to the state legislature. The 92% of the Auburn residents with unwanted paint in their basements and your residents with environmental and climate change concerns will certainly appreciate your assistance in getting their voices heard at the State House and getting this law passed. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Do board members have any questions?
So you mentioned that it was not approved 7 times. Was it 6 times? So it wasn't approved or it never made it?
It never made it out of the House Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you.
I do have a question, but this is the town manager. Does our current waste deal with paint at all?
So I did have a brief discussion, and the DDIS director had something to attend to tonight. She was unable to make it. She wanted to be here to comment on this, but she indicated to me that our hazardous waste day does allow for people to drop off paint. And we do have an agreement with NEDT, I believe that's the name of the outfit in Sutton, that allows our residents to bring materials such as this to that facility. And I think she indicated to you that they get an automatic $75 credit if they utilize the facility. Now, I know that doesn't address the global problem, or even touch everyone here in town. I think, given the information, and I think given the comments made by the presenter tonight, that the board would take that under advisement and maybe take a position at a future meeting when you had an opportunity to digest. Maybe we reach out to a delegation to find out why it got stalled in committee, why it wasn't voted out. There may be other issues that we're not aware of that I'd like to vet out.
Madam Chair, may I, to the town manager, is it possible that when this does come back to us, that we actually have the language for, I know we have the draft resolution here, but we have actual language for a resolution for us to consider at that time?
That would be my expectation.
Okay, thank you.
I have an updated resolution focused specifically at requesting the House Ways and Means Committee that I would like to leave with you folks to facilitate your considerations. I also have a copy of my comments that I would like to leave with you as well to make it easy to recall exactly what I said. And
That would be great.
final comment is that on December 11th, the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission is holding an event at Clark University where they will be discussing the waste issue and convening an event where product stewardship amongst other waste issues will be considered, and all municipal leaders are invited. And I
Thank
have a
you.
flyer for that too that I would be happy to share with each of you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, so Madam Chair, I would just like to go on the record of saying that, last week or last meeting, we heard from the head of DDIS about a new swapping of our bins from the larger to incentivize swapping from a larger to a smaller bin. And the reason was that is because we had to reduce the amount of solid waste that Auburn was producing. And, given that the vast majority of our latex paint does wind up in that solid waste, I think, given our vote last time, that this makes sense to pursue.
Thank you so much.
Chair, also, regardless of how the board decides to move forward, citizens are still encouraged, if they have issues, that they can reach out to their representatives as well, if they wanted to support this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we put this educational material, ask the town manager to put the educational material on the town website for residents to review, and following up on Mr. Chambers' comment, if they would like to reach out to their reps, this would at least give them some information about it.
Yes, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Okay, moving on to public hearing. There's a petition by National Grid for a pole location on Albert Street.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Is there a representative from National Grid?
Yes, I am remote.
Okay. So could you tell us about this pole location and what it's for?
Yes. Sorry, my name is Brandon McMillan, and I am one of the designers out of Worcester. For this pole location, it is going to be on the corner of Albert and Blaker Street. It is going to be a little bit farther down Albert Street than the existing pole 9. And the reason that this pole is needed is because the existing pole 9 at the corner already has a primary riser, which means that to feed the new development going in at the end of Albert Street, we need to set a new pole so that way we can have a new primary riser.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Certainly, please step up, and could you please give us your name?
Hi, Mark Lindblom, 1 Eames Drive in Auburn. We are right on, we have property also on Blaker Street and also up on Eames Drive as well. There is a pole that is currently there at the corner of Blaker and Albert. I've shown some of the chair people up there. This project's been going on for a long time. They're always asking for different things, for extra help from the residents. There's a pole there. Most of them are going underground. The neighborhood and the property owners are against having another pole put up onto their property to feed the development.
Thank you. Would you like to address that? Why can this one not be underground as well?
So this pole is what's going to feed the rest of the underground that is going to the development. And the reason we can't utilize the existing pole is because there is already a riser on it that is feeding the existing houses at the end of Albert. So that's why we have to set a new pole due to the existing riser not having enough room on the pole to put another riser for the new development.
May I speak again?
Certainly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Chair people and Town Manager, appreciate it. They currently have, so the Eastland Partners project, as you head up Albert Street Extension on the right-hand side, as of like a week or so ago, the sidewalk has already been cut up substantially, and I know a lot of the other utilities are going underground. Again, the homeowners don't want another pole on their property. Just put it underground. Everything else comes through on the opposite side of Albert Street, where, again, back in 2017, 2018, they already cut down a lot of those neighbors' trees, bushes, and shrubs and added a 4-foot or 5-foot sidewalk there. So we are aware that a lot of utilities are already going underground. We watch them do it. So again, the homeowners would respectfully not want to have an additional pole on their property for a project that has nothing to do with the homeowners or the other residing residents.
Thank you. Do board members have questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, to the gentleman from National Grid, is there a reason, is there a riser coming up to P8? I know P9 is the one that you're referencing that already has an existing riser, but on your diagram, you have a P8 as well.
So there is not a riser on pole 8, and part of the problem there is because it is already a junction pole. That's going to really limit and make it very difficult to get a riser on that. Typically on junction poles like that, on a cross junction, we do not do risers on those due to the lack of safe space.
So is it something that you cannot do or something you prefer not to do?
That is something that we will not do due to the safety issues working at the top of the pole.
Just a second question. So what is the alternative plan if the board does not approve the installation of P10?
I do not know, but if it is not approved, then I pass that message back along, and then it is determined if there is another viable option or not. But I cannot say what that would be at this time.
So just to confirm, you haven't explored another option other than what's been provided for P10?
I did not do this design work, so I did not do the investigation as to whether there would be another option. But I can tell you that this is the typical standard way to do it is to have a riser, and then that's how it goes underground from there, which would feed the new development.
Yeah, I think the concern, though, is that you have two poles, I think it's within, 30 feet of each other, between P9 and the proposed P10. I think that's the concern, but I'll defer to other board members that have questions.
So I too had a concern. I know in the past, they came before us and a poll was approved, and while maybe different circumstances, they did it for cost savings, and they ended up digging up the street anyway, or at least they just repaved a lot of what they dug. So I'm not saying that this is exactly the same, but I would like to see another option. And if all the utilities are going underground for this new development, again, I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't know all the reasons behind it, but I would definitely like to see a different option.
All right. I will pass that message along. This was how they were getting underground to feed that, so it was solely that pole being put in, but I will pass that message along and have the team that it has done the design work on this investigate and see if there is another option.
Yeah, this is Todd. I just want to clarify. So I support getting power to that development, to that housing. It's important. I just want to see if there is additional options that are more palatable to the neighbors instead of putting a pole 30 feet from another pole, if possible. If you come before us with either, different options, or you come back and say that no other option is feasible and here's why, and provide reasoning, then I would consider it at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask to the gentleman from National Grid how long you might anticipate getting back another option to the board?
I do not have an answer to timeline. I would expect that it would be sooner rather than later. I just need to pass that message along that other options need to be explored, or reasoning for this being the only option needs to be relayed to the board.
Thank you.
But as far as timeline, I do not have an answer.
Okay. I know we have another person for public comment. Are you here for this poll? Because, okay, certainly, please, could you state your name and,
So my name's Kiana Casey, and this is my husband, Shane Casey. We are the owners of 11 Blaker Street. So basically, we just came today. We didn't really know much about the petition, so he had asked our lovely neighbor Mark to help us out, and he helped us understand. But yes, that's why we're here today, because we don't want the pole there. There was a lot of misplanning, and it is our property, and we just don't want the pole. So if we can explore a better option, like we expressed before, a lot of everything is underground. So I just wanted to come here today to state that, and that's really it. Do you have anything to say?
My concern is also, there's a pole somewhat reasonably close. We already have a pole on our property also. I don't see the benefit for us allowing to put the pole there on our property if it's not benefiting us at all. And that's all I have. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other questions by board members?
Make a motion, we continue this hearing to December 11th at 6:30.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So there is a request for a second poll. I will let the gentleman from National Grid describe this. Yes,
I'll make a motion that we open the second
yes,
hearing.
thank you.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Go ahead. From National Grid, tell us a little bit about this poll.
Which poll was this? Because I only, in the information that I was given for the petition, there was only the one pole installation, and then it was the underground conduit going from that pole back into the
Gotcha,
development.
so this is for the conduit.
Not for pole.
Gotcha. So I think we would
So
probably want.
this would be the conduit and the pole boxes necessary to get the power from the pole 10 that we were just discussing back into the neighborhood. And that would be, to my understanding and looking at the drawings that have been produced, that would be not within the roadway. That would be within either the shoulder of the roadway, but not actually dug within the roadway itself. And that would go from that new pole 10 back to where the traffic circle is and up into the development from there.
Madam Chair, can I make a recommendation that we hold this as well until December 11th? Because obviously this relates directly to the previous public hearing, as the conduit is shown connecting to the proposed P10 that we are asking not to happen.
First, we need to close the public hearing, and then we could have the motion to
We don't want to close it, we want to continue.
continue
Yeah.
it. Thank you. Is that a motion to continue the public hearing?
I just wanted to make a recommendation. If the board members concur, then I will make a motion that we continue the public hearing to December 11th.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So we'll be continuing the public hearing to our next meeting. If the gentleman from National Grid could get us more information on what might possibly be other options for that work.
And can I just ask town staff, the town manager, typically for a continued public hearing, then abutters are not notified a second time? Is it possible to notify them of the December 11th meeting so they're aware that this issue will be on that
Sure,
agenda
we
as
can-
well? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll be moving along to Section 6, Communications. We have none. Select Board general items, we have a change of ownership of the automotive dealership license for Patrick Motors Group. Is there someone from Patrick Motors here? Great. Did you want to come up?
Hi, I'm John Doherty Dixon. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Patrick Motor Group. We are looking to allow two different things happen between the three licenses. In the first license, we are simply changing the legal entity and the technical ownership. Patrick Motor Group currently is owned by David and Jason Patrick. They are cousins. They are the current owners of Patrick Automotive, Inc. As part of a restructuring in our companies, we're changing everything to be owned by a parent company and then splitting out each of the three dealerships that are located in Auburn to separate entities. In the second situation of Patrick Automotive going Volvo, that would be exactly the same thing. All we're doing there is changing David and Jason from direct ownership of the dealership to Patrick Motor Group being the owner, to which they are the 100% owners. The third one is slightly different. That would be Patrick's Automotive, Inc., which is currently Patrick Motors. That is the Volkswagen store that's been at 519 for many years. That store is owned by David and Jason's fathers, Neil and James Patrick. They are retiring as of the end of the year, and Patrick Motor Group, through David and Jason, through Patrick Motor Group, will be purchasing that facility from their fathers. And we're just looking for approval to move that through. And we can provide anything that the board feels necessary to review.
Do board members have any questions?
Through the town manager, all their licensing and everything is currently up to date and nothing's in default, no issues. So by a transfer, this wouldn't change anything?
No, we're not.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the name changes on the motor vehicle class 1, motor vehicle class 2, and auto repair licenses at 189 Washington Street to PMG Mazda LLC, DBA Patrick Mazda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
I'll make a motion that we approve the name changes on motor vehicle class 1 and 2 and auto repair licenses at 519 Washington Street to Patrick Automotive LLC, DBA Patrick Volvo Cars, Auburn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
Last but not least, I will make a motion to approve the name changes on the motor vehicle class 1 and auto repair licenses at 519 Washington Street to Patrick Motors Mart LLC, DBA Patrick Motors.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. I think you are all set. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You all have a very good holiday.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Next, we have a change of address for a storage of flammable fluids at 190 Washington Street.
Motion to approve the change of address.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We have covered 7C. Does not appear we have any gift acceptances in our packets. Town manager update has been covered. Tabled items, we have none. We have some member items. Mr. Chambers, or Mr. Carpenter, sorry.
Yes, Madam Chair, I was actually going to ask that we postpone this to our first meeting in January, these items, if it was okay with board members.
Do board members have any questions, comments? Does the January date work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll make a motion. We hold over the member items until the first meeting in January.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We have no minutes in our packets, so we would just be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.